This is a non-stop crowd of people. It's huge. It's huge. What you see here is definitely the biggest gathering of people I've seen on the streets, taking to streets in protest against jihadism and against Islam. The organisation is called Football Lads Alliance. This is massive. I think you're seeing the birth today of a huge organisation in the UK, which is historic as well, because you've got football fans putting away their rivalries, teams that despise each other, supporters that despise each other, putting away their rivalries for the greater good and for the love of their country. There are tens of thousands of people here today. And this has the power to spread across the whole of Europe, with football supporters who are already organised, joining together in opposition to what's happening to our country. There's no flags, there's no racism, there's no chanting, there's no beer. You've got a massive rally. He's playing the national anthem as the crowd's walking past. It is history in the making, because this is the first time that football supporters have put away their rivalries and combined together. It's a historic day. It's a historic day, and it's a massive movement. You're seeing the birth of a new organisation.
People are actively targeting and killing our children right here in the UK. I'm not making it up. They're not caught in the crossfire. The people that went into that arena in Manchester specifically picked it because there would be children there and they would be able to kill them, and they did it. Sir Winston Churchill. The cheer alone says 1,000 words. But he said, "We shall defend our island whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, and we shall never surrender."
Wherever people are marching against extremism or reacting against extremism, I'll be amongst them. I come from Iran, which was a secular country until 1979, and then it turned into an Islamic state. I saw the left in Iran going into bed with the Islamists, and then the Islamists taking over, and the first victims of the Islamists were the actual leftists themselves, but they don't seem to learn from that.
Red Pill Phil, how are you doing? Come in. Tell me, because I'm here today trying to get across the media bias in organisations like this today. Again, what would you say if you hear people of accusations of racism against the crowds that are here?
What would I say? I'd say they're being disingenuous to themselves. Because you can see here that the people are just genuine, open and nice people that are here. Working class people that just got concerns. I can't see how anyone can look at this march and see a march of hate, a march of bigotry. It's just not. It's common sense.
If you've got people that want to harm civilians, men, women and children, the government really has to act on that. Basically, Veterans Against Terrorism formed after the Manchester bombing. I'm not the founder. The founder saw what happened at the Ariana Grande concert, was totally horrified, veteran of many years service, and he said, we've got to do something about this. There's this talk of 23,000 jihadists who are basically lurking about in the shadows somewhere, and we asked the government to basically act on that and start arresting people and taking people off the streets.
What do you think of the accusations people cry of racism?
No, don't listen to that. I've been here all day, look at the amount of people, brilliant. I've not had one comment offended me at all.
No,
brilliant.
Yeah, great. Yeah, because we're trying to get past the media bias on organisations like this. The minute they open their mouth.
None of these people listen to that ananyway.
We have BBC News here. The only reason why we have to come is because of how bad they are. When you describe this crowd, how are you going to describe them in your news report?
Well, we're going to call them. You've called what you've labelled yourself, which is an anti-extremist movement.
When your news report comes out on this,
yes,
will you mention the word far right?
If people have labelled it as such, then we have to reflect that.
You should report and reflect what you've met and seen today. Have you seen far right demonstrators?
If people label it as such,
if I label you as a nonce, would you report that you're a nonce? Because there's no truth in it, is there? What you do is word association, which is what all of you media do against ordinary people. These are all ordinary people who have come out to demonstrate. You will do word association of racism, of far right. You've got ordinary people out demonstrating against terrorism, and you, every time the mainstream media, you brand them, and it's not fair. It's not right, and you know that because you're on this demonstration. So
equally, I'm sure you know where those labels come from. You have, calls for tighter immigration. That is a right-wing rhetoric.
So calls for tighter immigration against Islamic terrorism is a right-wing rhetoric. In fact, the Labour Party talk about immigration, tighter controls on immigration. Everyone does.
Right.
What do you mean a right-wing rhetoric? How's that a right-wing rhetoric?
Well, people would say that is
so because this group talks about terrorism and talks about controlling borders, that means they're far right.
It's a far right. Yeah, they could be. If they had,
You see, this is what you're up against. This is what you're up against. This is BBC. So if someone identifies as wanting to stop Islamic terrorism and controlling your borders, it's far right.
it would be labelled as such.
Come by people like you!
But my opinion is absolutely invalid. It's about getting...
You're reporting for the BBC, you're lying for the BBC, you are officially fake news and you're demonising so many innocent people.
Right.
You make it impossible for people to talk. You do that. That's who you are. You're here to try and get bad footage. That's why you're here.
Right.
That's your agenda. You have an
You're
agenda.
frustrated with the media, from what I take from this.
You have a complete agenda when you come to these demonstrations. And you usually don't even report. If you can't get any bad footage of today, if you can't get violence, you don't report.
Do you think there would be violence today? I mean, it's been peaceful so far.
No, not unless far left demonstrators are allowed to get up and throw things at people, which is what usually happens. So if the police want to stitch the organisation up, which we'll see time and time again, then we'll see. But you are all part of the problem.